today is how to choose or how to make healthy choices in restaurants, how to eat out and make informed decisions while eating out. And I'd like to preface this conversation by saying that I would like to say, don't do it. Eat at home, bring your lunch to work, just don't do it. But I know you're going to go out and eat. So how is it that we can do that and make healthy choices? One of the main things that I see in restaurants these days is the size of the portions. And I've talked to you guys about things like, you know, having half a chicken for lunch and half a chicken. Just saying that is just like, wow. And just the enormity of the sizes, the portion sizes that we're getting on a regular basis that present themselves as lunch. That most of the time, that's at least enough food for two people. Because I went into a restaurant the other day and I asked the waiter, has anybody asked you to do this? Where they bring the lunch or dinner and they say, can I have a to-go carton at the beginning of the meal? And he's like, yeah, more and more people are asking for that. And you take your plate and you put half of it away before you start eating. And you can actually even think of that as your lunch tomorrow. And you eat half of that portion, which is probably the great majority of the fat and the salt that you need for that day. What's better? What kinds of things are better about preparing food at home than going out to eat? What types of things do you see as being beneficial to those kinds of things?
Have control over salt you put on your food.
Control over salt. Key. Huge. What else do you have control over? Fat, and not just amount, but the quality of fat as well. It's like, what kind of fat am I putting in my food? Am I using, hydrogenated oils? Am I using bacon fat, or am I using olive oil?
You can trim all your meat before you eat it at home.
You can trim the meat before you eat it and before you cook it, even. What about that portion thing? You can make your plate to size and not overfeed yourself. If you present yourself with, like we talked about, the 10-inch plate, and you put on that plate half a plate of vegetables, you do your 3-ounce portion of protein and a whole grain, you have control over that. But if you can eat half a plate and you feel sated, and then maybe the rest of the day you actually feel pretty good, then that's information you can take with you and use in the future. At least you've seen that you didn't really need double the calories. In the U.S. today, that is common for us to have a meal in a restaurant that has the calories, the fat, the salt, and the portion size for 2 people or more. Sometimes the fat content is enough for an entire day, the salt for 2 days. There are a lot of restaurants now who are marking on their menus healthy choices or healthier choices. In San Antonio, we have a program called Por Vida, and it is a program that is funded by the Mayor's Fitness Council. It involves, I believe now there are 11 or 12 chain restaurants who have specific meals that have gained this Por Vida seal. And they've been analyzed by the San Antonio Dietetic Association for salt, fat, and caloric content. And they fall into the ADA guidelines for all of those things. And we're working on recruiting some local restaurants as well to jump on board with that. So that you go in there, you open the menu, and you've got these little symbols that tell you these meals are portioned correctly, they have the right amount of salt, and they have either lower amounts of fat or all the fats that are in them are good fats. In restaurants, what would you imagine would be the largest sources of extra salts? It comes in the form of sauces, dressings. Those kinds of things are where most of the salt is hidden in a restaurant. Whether it's enchilada sauce, the hot sauce, some kind of creamy dressing, huge sources of fat and salt. Those are all places where it's kind of hidden, and it's places where you're deriving a lot of the flavor. For example, if you have a salad with iceberg lettuce, a few cucumbers, and a tomato, what do you need to do to make that a Happy Meal? A bunch of like ranch dressing or blue cheese or something. I mean, there's no flavor there. So a salad made with greens and a bunch of other garbanzo beans and maybe some carrots and a lot of other mixed vegetables wouldn't need, a ton of dressing. Vinegar and oil. You put it on yourself and add salt to your heart's desire, because whatever you add on there, by the time you get tired of shaking, is going to be less than they would have put in a prepared dressing. Way less. The other place that a lot of salt and calories lives is in the bread, the crackers, the stuff they put on the table so that you don't get grumpy while you're waiting for your real food to come. Appetizers, Italian restaurant, and how they bring you bread and a little bowl of olive oil. I said, well, olive oil in and of itself, yeah, it's healthy, but it's fat. And then you got this basket of white bread, and you're dipping your white bread in this olive oil, and you're down in up to a tablespoon or so by yourself, if not more. And then you're going to have dinner. You're going to have lasagna or ziti or something else that's covered with cheese, and it's white pasta. And I mean, we're talking about tons of fat, tons of calories. So is it good for you, olive oil? Yeah, it's a better choice in fats, but you have to look at it in the context of a whole meal. And then finally, as a choice for something to drink, water, teas, something, but no sodas. No, there's nothing. There's no nutritive value except for calories. If you would think of that 20-ounce bottle of Coke having 14 teaspoons of sugar in it, you just stop with soda, you start losing weight. Plus, if you're replacing it with water, you're becoming hydrated. Metabolically, you function better. Up to 6%, you can increase your metabolism just by being hydrated. It's a good choice. It's one of the better choices you can make. It's not the easiest. It's not the easiest because sugar, caffeine, nicotine, all of those things are really difficult to quit, but certainly well worth the effort. Watch for the dressings. I have not seen yet that they actually do have whole grain bread. They have wheat bread. Try half of the sandwich, put the other half away, bring from home a couple pieces of fruit, have that half a sandwich and an apple and, say, a peach. And then if you're still hungry, eat the other half a sandwich. It's a lot of salty meat because those are all, nitrate-filled, preserved meats that are on there. They do have a salad bar. And so this is one of those places where you can put lots of colors. They've got beans. I think they've got garbanzo, red beans. You can make a really nice salad, but then don't mess it all up with a bunch of cheese and creamy dressings. Make the good choices all the way through the meal. And just give it a shot. See how it feels. The idea, of course, is to try to start making more effort to prepare your meals, either prepare them at home or bring meals from home, like lunches, sandwiches with whole grain bread, buy good choices in lunch meats. Most HEBs now have a really nice deli where you can select your own stuff, pile it up with a bunch of lettuce, tomatoes, onions, all that kind of stuff, and bring it with you. Then I'm going to bring you a list of the goods and bads next week, and you can use those to kind of like decipher menus. But I think you guys now have had enough of this nutrition information under your belt where you can go into a place and go, wow, that's a really huge portion. Do I really need that? Do I really need to put that ranch dressing? Do I really need to put that whole cup of ranch dressing that they brought to me? Recipes are coming. We're going to do, did I tell you we're going to do a healthy trail mix? Something you can keep as a snack in the afternoons, keep it in the car, that kind of thing. Next week, I'll be in the kitchen.